A Mammoth reveal in Utah, a golf shirt goof in St. Louis, a lackluster logo for the draft in LA, and new hockey teams are cropping up across the West. This is Threads, a monthly recap of news and reviews only on Aesthetics. I'm Chris. Thanks for watching. But first, the 2026 Winter Classic logo reveal. Next season, the 17th edition of the NHL's marquee outdoor game will be held for the first time ever in sunny Florida, Miami to be specific. And on May 27th, we got our first look at the very Miami-centric branding. Unsurprisingly, it's a mix of bold and bright tropical colors, including blues, greens, and pink, complete with palm trees, coconuts, and some faux snow. It's a bit too early for word on the uniforms, but this artwork does make me wonder if we could see the NHL go in a whole new direction this year. The Florida Panthers will host the New York Rangers on January 2nd at Lone Depot Park, home of the Miami Marlins. The Sunshine State has become the unlikely center of the hockey universe to some degree lately, with the Lightning or Panthers appearing in the Stanley Cup Final for 6 straight seasons. Tampa Bay, meanwhile, will host the Stadium Series a month after. All right, let's get right into this new series. A few weeks ago, without warning, the Utah Hockey Club sprung a big announcement on the hockey world, the official reveal of their permanent branding. Meet the Utah Mammoth. Arriving with no overhyped countdown, no elaborate launch, just a simple press conference with a cinematic intro video. But to be honest, it all felt a little hasty. And maybe it was. A week earlier, some eagle-eyed fans picked up on an apparent slip-up. Late on a Tuesday night, April 29th, the team's YouTube handle suddenly switched from @Utah Hockey Club to @Utah Mammoth. Had the team finally made up its mind on a permanent name? Were they starting to lock down new social media handles? It appeared someone jumped the gun with their YouTube account. Basically, the club scooped itself, effectively revealing the new name before they meant to. Spoiler alert, that will be a theme in this video. The team went into damage control mode that night. The channel was deactivated entirely for a time, perhaps with the hope that no one would notice, but that's not really how the internet works. Major media outlets picked it up and fans braced for the official announcement. Then on the morning of Wednesday, May 7th, out of nowhere, the official unveiling. The launch video centered around Utah's prehistoric ice age, bouncing between a cave explorer and some young museum visitors, culminating with the reveal of the new name and logo. The club played up the paleontological discoveries of mammoth fossils across the state over the years and the groundswell among fans who showed a clear preference for this name. SEG said Mammoth was the clear winner, beating out Utah Hockey Club and Utah Outlaws after several rounds of surveys and polls. The irony is that mammoth is also a term that can mean huge or epic, which is the opposite of the feeling I got from their brand reveal. Still, it should have been an epic announcement, but it came with no real lead-up, no anticipation. They just sort of surprised us with it one morning, but there was nothing particularly surprising about it. The name had been leaked by the team itself, the logo concept had been leaked during the fan surveys, and there was just no sense of spectacle. This should have been a major fan event, like the day the players arrived in Salt Lake and gathered with fans at the Delta Center. That's how Vegas did it. I was there, outside T-Mobile Arena on November 22nd, 2016, when the Golden Knights let loose the confetti and streamers. I was not there when Seattle declared themselves the Kraken, but then again, we were all dealing with COVID, so fan gatherings weren't really the thing to do. I'm not sure what the excuse was for Utah, but it seemed like they blew what could have been a mammoth moment. Okay, rollout aside, let's focus on the new identity itself. Is the name any good? Utah Mammoth. To be fair, this was obviously a fan favorite. The Tusks Up hashtag saw a lot of organic use well before the team officially adopted it. And of the 3 options given, it was clearly the only good one. But a small part of me was hoping for a bait and switch, an unexpected dark horse. Of course, that would have gone against the fan feedback philosophy. Look, it's not a bad name at all. It's a good fit for Utah, a little safe maybe, a little bland, but in the greater context of the NHL, it works. So, how about the new primary logo? Frankly, I wasn't exactly wowed by that either. It's a bit of a stereotypical sports logo, isn't it? I mean, it would look right at home in the minor leagues, really, alongside some other angry animals that have joined the ranks of the AHL and ECHL. But again, don't misunderstand. I don't mean to say it's bad. In fact, from a technical standpoint, it's very strong. The line work is crisp and bold, even if there are elements like shadows that don't quite stand up to scrutiny. In fairness, that type of thing might have been cleaned up had the design timeline not been so rushed. Still, it contains one of my favorite NHL logo Easter eggs to date. The head of the mammoth is sculpted into a mountainous silhouette, which, by the way, is a blend of designs that leaked during the fan surveys. The grinning mammoth combined with the Yeti's head of icy peaks. But look closer at the mountain on the left. That shape is no accident. It's Utah, with its iconic notch in the northeast. And the blue shading forms an M for mammoth. The team claims the tusk is shaped like a U for Utah, but that one feels like a bit of a stretch to me. What other shape would a tusk be exactly? Then again, the Colorado Mammoth of the National Lacrosse League might have something to say about that. In fact, they did, reposting Utah's announcement with a jab about the copycat newcomers. With their launch, the Mammoth released a collection of additional logos to support their new identity. This wordmark introduces us to a new custom typeface they call Mammoth Sans. It's a heavy block font with these 10-degree chips on the letter's rounded corners. This angled slant turns out to be a running theme overall. Every logo is basically italicized, which is a little funny. The secondary mark is the U-Tusk, which I really like. It's simple and well built. I kind of wonder whether this concept, with a little more time spent on it, could have made for a better primary logo. Then again, it's effectively the same idea as the Seattle Kraken logo, a letter form intertwined with a creature's body part. So, maybe not. Though for that matter, it's not hard to draw conceptual similarities between the Mammoth's primary mark and those of the Nashville Predators and Minnesota Wild. You have the angry animal profile mixed with the local nature scenery. An alternate version of the U-Tusk spells out Utah, which ends up being a suitable replacement for the basic scoreboard logo the franchise used previously. Another element from last season that's been enhanced is the stair-step crest, now merged with an abstract version of the state outline. There's also a hockey stick whose blade tape forms a subtle U. I wish they had this one last year because it would have been a much better jersey crest than what they wore. And on that note, let's talk about the jerseys. As expected, the colors and striping pattern will remain the same, with a minor change that I'll go over in a moment. As a reminder, this is what they wore this past season, a basic font laid out diagonally down the chest. On the new home uniform, the Mammoth itself takes center stage. It's a definite improvement over the stair-step crest, a version of which is still hanging around in the form of this shoulder patch. The new road sweater, on the other hand, is effectively the same. That's a bit of a letdown. I was hoping if they had to keep the diagonal text, it would be as a third jersey for a little while, and not a permanent uniform. What they did do, however, was update the design to utilize the new Mammoth Sans font with that 10-degree slant. I get the idea that when you're traveling, some teams want to showcase the name of their home city to the locals. It's why after their 2011 rebrand, the Lightning wore Tampa Bay across their away jersey, but not on those home blues. And why the Panthers still do it, with Panthers in the crest of the home jersey, but Florida there on the road designs. In my mind, the U-Tusk would have been a better way of doing this. Instead, that mark is relegated to the pants. But hey, I'm just glad they're using it on the uniform. On the other hand, their primary logo does work well here as a shoulder patch. The only other change to the away sweater is the extra pop of white in the collar, and both jerseys now feature a hanger effect with the inside of the collar highlighting the year of the franchise's founding. In addition, the uniform diagrams they shared show us the Utah wordmark is planned for use on the helmets. That's assuming, of course, that the team doesn't sell a helmet sponsorship between now and the new season. And finally, we have the new number and letter designs, which come from Mammoth Sans, naturally. However, it's the only part of the brand that is not angled 10 degrees. So there you go. With that, I think I've exhausted the discussion of the Utah Mammoth for now, but we're far from done here. We've still got to talk about the St. Louis Blues, the NHL Draft, some upcoming Centennials, and some new expansion teams. In my last NHL jersey watch, I called a St. Louis Blues rebrand very likely. I said a source told me the Blue Note itself was even getting a redesign, and then taking a page out of Utah's book with the YouTube leak, the team all but confirmed my report with a leak of their own. STL Authentics is the official team store of the Blues. They maintain a strong social media presence to spotlight new merchandise. And on May 9th, they posted photos of premium golf apparel, complete with a close-up of a logo we've never seen before. Remember how I said the redesigned retro logo on the shoulders of the Blues Winter Classic jersey could be a hint toward what's to come? Turns out, it was. This version of the Blue Note is the same as that one, except for the color application. Instead of the lighter throwback blue, it's the current navy blue. Will the new uniforms align with that, as in navy blue jerseys? A couple of sources tell me no. They say the retro blue is here to stay. The only change we're likely to see is a brightening of the vintage white to a proper white, something like this. For what it's worth, a hoodie shown in the same post used a monochromatic version of the new logo, which looked like this. But there's an interesting wrinkle. The Blues' baseball brethren, the St. Louis Cardinals, announced a theme night for late in the season. On September 19th, right around the time we're gearing up for a new hockey season, the Cardinals are giving away a Blues-themed hoodie, which uses the new Blue Note on the front in retro Winter Classic colors. I don't know if there's any real relevance to this, and I'm still unsure about how the navy blue logo on the golf shirts fits into the larger rebrand, but I don't think we'll have to wait long to find out. Given that the Blues are planning to debut a new look for next season, I would expect to get our first peek at it no later than the NHL Draft on June 27th. Speaking of which, the first edition of the NHL's new decentralized draft format will take place in Los Angeles later this month on June 27th, and this is the logo for that event. Okay, so not exactly a groundbreaking design. All the NHL seems to associate with LA are palm trees. To wit, here's the logo from the last time LA hosted the draft 15 years ago. Though I have to say, I am partial to the use of aesthetics blue in both of these. Anyway, we got our first look at this branding a few weeks ago at the draft lottery, where the Islanders won big, jumping from 10th to 1st overall. If the awarding of the Stanley Cup is the official end of hockey season, the draft is generally considered the start of a new season. So when teams have new logos or jerseys to launch, this is the time they usually do it. Remember, the Ducks and Kings introduced new branding last year in the days leading up to the draft so that their redesigned jerseys would be ready for their new draftees. This year, I'm anticipating new designs for a handful of teams. The Blues, of course. They select in the first round at 19th overall, so they'll need a jersey on hand for the big night. The Boston Bruins home jersey has already leaked, so I'd expect to see an official reveal for that one before the draft. They pick 7th overall. And I've heard the Chicago Blackhawks will have a new home jersey for their upcoming 100th anniversary. They pick 3rd overall. But would they give out a special one-off jersey at the draft, or would it be their standard design? For comparison, in 2023 the Bruins were going into their Centennial season, but used their standard home jersey at the draft. The anniversary uniforms were not revealed until 3 months later in mid-September. Hard to say if the Hawks will follow a similar pattern, but let's talk more about that. On May 15th, the Blackhawks, Rangers, and Red Wings all commemorated the 99th anniversary of the founding of their franchises, using that as a launchpad for their upcoming Centennials. The Rangers kicked things off back in March, but the Hawks and Wings joined the party on the 15th. Chicago gave us a rhyming hype video declaring themselves always an original, along with the many firsts they lay claim to. The Hawks also gave us a better look at their 100th anniversary logo, then proved I was right to call out the gold outline surrounding their primary logo by changing out their social media profile pics to this. And I'm now wondering if their so-called new home jersey will feature little more than a familiar design with a metallic gold around the crest. We'll have to wait and see on that. The Red Wings also published a short hype video showcasing historical highlights and announcing their Centennial is coming soon. But in classic Wings style, they're playing this one pretty close to the vest and giving us little else to go on just yet. With a trio of teams commemorating their 100th anniversaries, I would expect to see a good handful of throwback jerseys throughout the season. All right, home stretch time. Let's do a few quick hits. First, the Flyers. I don't usually talk about jersey ads because I give these people more than they're paying for, but one of them may finally be doing something fans can appreciate. While they're not taking their logo off of Philadelphia's iconic orange sweater, they do seem to be fixing the egregious color discord. When new head coach Rick Tocchet met cameras at his introductory media conference, the jersey shown off had the sponsor logo in white instead of the bright blue that we've seen for the past 2 seasons. Assuming this change is extending to the on-ice jerseys the players wear, it's a minor but welcome improvement. The Professional Women's Hockey League is expanding. The PWHL announced 2 new franchises will join the league for its 3rd season this fall in Vancouver and Seattle. Brand development is currently underway. In the meantime, these placeholder logos are being used to represent the franchises. And here's a good question for the comments. What do you think the team names should be? Speaking of expansion, out west, the ECHL will grow to 31 teams, not this fall, but next in the 26-27 season when New Mexico gets a franchise. The team will play in Rio Rancho, just north of Albuquerque. They're currently holding a Name the Team contest. ABQ was previously home to the New Mexico Scorpions of the Western Professional Hockey League in the mid-90s with one of the coolest logos I have ever seen. They later joined the Central Hockey League and played there until 2009 with a less cool logo. And that's it for this first edition of Threads. My idea here is to create a monthly series to recap all the news and updates from across the hockey branding universe. It's basically a replacement for the old flash reports, which had 2 problems. First, it was tough for me to keep up with them given my busy work schedule, and second, you guys weren't really watching them. So I'm hoping this longer magazine-style format is a better fit. I'll plan to release new episodes once a month, with other videos coming in between. And that's all for now. Leave a like before you go if you enjoyed this video. It's a big help to keep the channel in business, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on upcoming videos, including my next Jersey Watch, which is on the way. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.